Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Farooq Hassan is back with a brand new episode of Sky is the Limit. When we talk about diaspora, we talk about all those individuals who left our motherland for greener pastures in search of better jobs, better education, better living facilities. We have a huge number of diaspora all over the world. But there are few individuals amongst them who outshine. When they go for education, they outshine in that field. If they go into business, they make sure they conquer the business world. Such individuals are an asset for any economy, for any country. There are few examples, rare shining examples, who actually give up everything that they have abroad and come back and serve the motherland. We have one such rare individual whom we will be introducing to you in today's program, Dr. Faisal Dar. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Dr. Faisal Dar is the Chief Executive Officer of Pakistan Kidney Liver Institute, popularly known as PKLI, and has brought many accolades for the country. He is the first surgeon to have performed the first ever liver transplant surgery in Pakistan. He is also a recipient of Sitara Imtiaz. Let's have a chat tete-a-tete with Dr. Faisal Dar. Dr. Sir, welcome to Sky is the Limit.
Thank you.
When I went through your profile, you were the most perfect candidate for this program. And I wanted the whole world to know what kind of talented professionals we have here in Pakistan. So let's start with your early journey first. Where were you born? Which school did you go to? And how was your early childhood?
First of all, thank you very much for your kind invitation. I was born in Faisalabad in 1973.
Okay.
My father used to work in a textile mill at the time, and my family was actually based in Faisalabad at the time. But sadly, my father died when I was only 10 months old.
Oh.
And originally, we belonged to a small village called Kotla in front of Khariyan Kent.
Okay.
So my mother at the time decided to move back to our own village. So that is where I was actually raised. So for the first 8 years of my schooling, I went to our village school, and from 9th standards, I moved to Khariyan Kent.
So the village school was equally good as compared to a city school, the level of education?
I mean, to be honest, when I compare the commitment and the dedication of teachers of my times and then compare it to the teachers of today, I found we were very blessed. Even being in a village, our teacher used to put so much effort. So I think we owe a lot to those teachers, and whatever I have achieved later in life, they had a huge impact on that. Well, in my times, your 8th standard, you used to have a board examination, which is not there anymore.
Prevalent anymore, yes.
So I topped the whole district, you know.
Okay.
I got scholarship in those times. So it was all the hard work of those teachers. And just for a reference, the school I went to is a village school. But President of Pakistan, Chaudhry Faisal Dar, was the graduate of that school as well. He belonged to that village as well.
Okay,
so
yeah. It has a legacy.
It does. It does.
That's amazing.
So I did my matric and FSC from Khariyan Kent.
Before you go into matric and FSC, so tell me what you were. I can judge by your grades that you were a very bright and intelligent student. But were you good in extracurricular activities also? Were you a naughty kid in the class, like?
Not really. I think my childhood was a little different from a normal child because I didn't have my father. Okay. You know, I have 4 sisters elder than me, and gradually they were getting married. So when you get your age to of naughtiness, I was kind of a serious child anyway because of the
matured before time.
Because of the circumstances of my childhood. So yes, I used to love cricket in those times, and I still remember I think I started listening to cricket probably in 1983, 84.
Okay.
So I used to have a radio, and whenever Pakistan is abroad, there was a big time difference.
Chishti Mujahid. and-
Chishti Mujahid, Hassan Jalil,
Yeah.
and then I think Tariq Rahim.
Tariq, yeah.
So these are the famous commentators of those times.
Oh, yeah.
So I was such a great lover of cricket. Used to follow ball by ball, you
Okay,
know,
okay.
on the commentary.
So whenever there was a match, there was nothing else in the house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started playing cricket with my friends from the village. And I think that is it. If I would say that I was the greatest athlete of those
As far
times.
as extracurricular
Yeah,
activities go.
yeah.
Okay.
So it was just a very humble, ordinary childhood, not that privileged. And then I went to school again. I think at very early stage I realized that I have to do something because I have an elder brother who was in Pakistan Army, so he was like a father figure to me. He used to, although he was not supervising me directly because of the nature of his duties,
Yes.
but he was my financier. So my childhood and my education till the day I became a doctor and then got married, he was the one who was actually supporting me. So I think under such circumstances, probably in a way I didn't enjoy the childhood as a privileged child would do.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So then you went to college and you got admission in intermediate, same
Yeah.
place in the village?
In
or?
Karyan Kent.
In
No,
Karyan
in
Kent.
Karyan. The school in our village was up to the 8th standard.
Okay, so
So
after
for-
that you had to move to
yeah.
Karyan Kent. Okay.
So Karyan Kent is hardly 1 kilometer from my village.
Mhm.
So I used to have a bicycle. So
You used to
I
cycle to college?
Yeah.
Okay.
First the school and then the college. So those 4 years was from Karyan Kent, and that was a very different school because in my village school I am kind of in company of the villagers.
Yes.
But in a Karyan Kent you are in a cantonment environment.
All the city
where
boys.
all the city boys, you know, and it was competitive too, you know. But it's a pretty box standard federal government school which you would come across in most of the cantonment areas.
Okay.
They're disciplined, you have games and you have your study times, and by and large 8 to 2 is the school timings, and then you are at home, you are doing your work. In the evening you do a bit of a cricket in the common ground in the village, and then by the Maghrib time you have to be at home. So that was the discipline of my mother, that after sunset you can't
You
go
can't go out.
you know.
Okay, we all grew up with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so cricket stuck with you.
Yes,
you
it did.
remained with cricket.
Yeah.
Okay, you did your inter and you got good marks in it. Like,
Yes.
did you get a position?
Yeah. So then, based in our times, the merit in the medical school was just based on the marks you obtain in your intermediate. You know.
FSC
So
pre-medical.
yeah. So I got admission into Allama Iqbal Medical College.
That was one of the leading medical colleges
After
at that
King
time.
Edward Medical
Yes.
College, it was second on the kind of a merit list. So I was there. And then it was a very, different.
Did you want to go to Allama Iqbal? Were you aiming for King Edward or were you aiming for any other medical college?
At the time I was aiming for obviously King Edward Medical College, but my family wanted me to apply for Rawalpindi Medical College because by then one of my sister who was married, she was based in Islamabad. One of my mamus, he was in Pakistan Army and he was posted in Islamabad,
Rawalpindi,
those
okay.
times. So we have a bit of a family and then few family friends in Rawalpindi, Islamabad.
So my would have been that someone can look after him and keep an eye on him.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but obviously I wanted to go to Lahore, and in those times, because King Edward was on the top, so obviously I wanted to go to King Edward, but I was, I think, 3 marks short
of the merit.
of
Okay.
the King Edward merit. So then automatically next choice was Allama Iqbal Medical
And you
College.
got into Allama Iqbal.
Yeah.
And you were a boarder there. You went to.
Yes,
you were
I
in
was
the
a boarder.
hostel, and you stayed 5 years there.
Yes.
Right? And then you graduated from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
After my graduation, as a doctor, you have to do your house job.
Mm-hmm.
So for my family reasons, I decided to do my house job in Islamabad.
PIMS.
In PIMS, Pakistan Institute of Medical and Sciences. So I think that was a great time to come into PIMS because PIMS, which was started somewhere in late 80s by all the doctors who was trained abroad, they moved back to Pakistan. So it was, I think, a different culture of Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences in those times as compared to services or Mayo Hospital in Lahore. So I feel that was a very good environment for me as an house job. So I actually enjoyed a lot, and that was a turning point as well, because as a student you are mixing up your education with your friendship and the times with friends. But now you are a doctor. Some of my friends have already gone to US for further education training. Some of my friends have gone to UK. And I am getting my house job and then general surgery training in PIMS. So I thought it was a great exposure as compared to the hospitals in Lahore.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think attitude-wise as well, I changed my approach. I started working very hard. So I wanted to learn every bit of a thing.
Okay.
And wanted to become a surgeon. So I thought I have to be a surgeon in future. And then I am not going to get more time to learn the medical side of a thing. So I did my house job actually for a whole 1 year in the field, different fields of medicine. Like I spent 4 months in cardiology, 4 months in gastroenterology, neurology, So I got a good foundation.
Got good feeler of all the major
yes,
faculties.
Because as a surgeon, then you will never be exposed to the medical side of medicine in the future. So I think that sets up your foundation. So I was very clear about it that I have to be a surgeon. So I invested my time of house job in medicine. And that is why instead of doing 1 year, I spent 1.5 years in my house job.
Okay.
So
okay.
1 year in medicine and then 6 months.
That was optional, that you did on your own, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then what did you decide after doing your house job, that what area do you want to specialize in, like surgery?
Yeah.
Any specific, like how did that come about? Did someone advise you, or did you seek guidance from someone?
I mean, those were the times. On one side, obviously, I wanted to become a surgeon. And on the other hand, I would 60 to 70% of my classmates were already in United States taking their licensing exam, and they are getting stabilized. So there was a huge disparity, in terms of your stipend you get. I used to get, I think, 3,000 rupees stipend.
Okay.
As a trainee or as a house officer.
Doctor. Okay.
And my classmates who were in US and doing their training, they were getting $3,500 US. These kind of pressures on you as well. And I was confused. I mean, the shortest route to get stabilized was to go through the licensing exam of the United States, and then you enter into a system which takes care of you. And that would take hardly a year, to go through the steps, and then you land in US and you are into a system. But getting a surgical residency in those days in US was kind of a near to impossible. So if I wanted to become a surgeon, I thought I am not going to take the USMLE side of things.
Okay.
So either I have a choice doing the surgical training in Pakistan, or I should go to UK for a surgical training.
Okay. So what did you decide after you finished your house job? Then what do you want to do next?
I mean, I wanted to do a surgeon, but obviously I was a little confused. So there was a senior fellow to me who was doing his specialization in orthopedics.
Okay.
So one day I asked him, what should I do? He said to me that I just tell you a little story. He belonged to Jhelum, and he tells me of his story, that he has a senior friend who wanted to become a surgeon, but somehow he ended up in United Kingdom. And in United Kingdom, the surgery was also difficult. So that guy ended up doing a specialization in pediatrics, that is the medicine of children.
Yes.
So he accomplished all those things, and then he moved back to Jhelum, established his own hospital.
Oh, okay.
And he was kind of a very satisfied, very well off. And now my friend is getting advice from him, what to do. So he said to him, Asif, I am very accomplished, I am very happy, but I tell you, I wanted to become a surgeon, and that's the only thing I regret even today.
That I didn't become a surgeon.
I did not become a surgeon.
Okay.
So that actually pushed him to just take the surgical route. And I was actually inspired by this little setting of 15-30 minutes, That day I decided I'm going to stay back in Pakistan, go through our surgical training first, and then I will see where my destiny takes me.
Okay.
So that is the difference between selecting the medical route or the surgical route was decided that day.
Okay, great. And then after you're finishing your house job, then did you get a job somewhere? You decided to work, or you wanted to study further, specialize? What did you do after that?
I mean, once I decided I'm going to do surgery,
Yeah.
so the best possible route I could think of was to go through the part 1 of our own specialization, which we have a college of physician and surgeon in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Very structured programs of training in surgery, medicine, and all those things. So I decided I'm going to take part 1 of this examination.
Okay.
But I have to prepare it for 6 months. So I started doing a job in G9 in a general practice clinic. So
As a GP?
As a GP. I mean, it was somebody else ownership. So he just needed somebody to cover that clinic.
Fair enough.
So for me, it suited me very well. I will just go there, took my books. I will be just reading there.
And if the patient came, you would see that patient?
Very odd one, because most of the patient on the general practice, they come for their own doctor.
Okay.
So, and the doctor used to come like at 11 o'clock.
You were like a standby though?
I will just stand by to cover that clinic.
Okay.
So that suited me very well as well. For those 6 months, I was just sitting there, use that clinic as a library, and start preparing for my preparation for my part
Exam,
1.
part 1.
So I passed that, and after that I was entitled for a training.
Okay.
Which I got in again PIMS. At those times, the surgical training after passing this exam was for 3 years.
Okay.
So I started doing my training, but at the same time, I kind of managed to do my training in a way so I can fulfill the training of the United Kingdom's FRCS examination as well, because our training, the basic training, is recognized in the UK as well.
Okay.
So I did my training in that way. So after I have finished my training, I can take the exam of FRCS as well. So for those 3 years, I did my training, and then I appeared in the final exams of our own, which is called FCPS. So I completed my FCPS. Then I went for, based on this training and examination, I was also entitled to appear for the FRCS examination from the Royal College of Surgeons. So I did that. It was all done based here in Pakistan, doing my training in PIMS. So once I have passed all the examination, by then I was already a kind of a trained and a qualified general surgeon.
Okay.
But I was not satisfied.
Okay.
That this is not
the
good.
quest was still inside.
Yeah, this is not good enough. So I thought I need to improve my skills. So at that point in time, I thought I should go to
abroad.
UK
Okay.
and get further training and exposure.
Okay.
So that is so. And now I was kind of entitled as well to get registered in UK as well as a doctor based on my FRCS. So at that point,
you moved to London.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how was that experience? Like first time ever you were leaving the country and leaving for some time to stay there, live there. So how was that experience, that transformation?
This time I ended up there, so I was clear that I have to go into a training system, improve my skill. So I mean, it takes generally 1 to 2 years to get settled down in the system, which I did. So I started getting jobs in general surgery, firstly as a senior house officer, then as a registrar. But doing those jobs there, I realized, this is what I have been doing in Pakistan as well. If I have to just continuing general surgery,
what's the difference?
There's no point me coming up here as well. So I started look for the other specialities like cardiothoracic surgery. I thought I should become a cardiothoracic surgeon. But in those times, in UK, the training in cardiothoracic surgery was almost frozen, because they have so many trainees, but the number of slots were very limited. So that door was kind of a closed for me. There was no point, pursuing that. And I was doing my general surgery job, and one day in St. Bart's Hospital, which is kind of the world's oldest hospital, I was a registrar in breast and endocrine surgery. Although, I enjoyed that a lot, but I thought this is not for me. So one day I was having a discussion with my consultant. So he said to me, why don't you try a liver surgery? So I, as a surgical training in Pakistan, have no exposure at all of liver surgery.
Never ever before.
Not at all, because it was non-existent in Pakistan. So I kind of just got excited that yes, I should try to
It's
do
a
that.
new area, so I should
It is
try.
a new area. So from that point, I thought I am going to apply for all these jobs, whatever comes up. So I started applying for the liver surgery jobs, and then I got shortlisted in Hammersmith Hospital and then the Royal Free Hospital, but I was not offered a job, because these kind of jobs are middle grade jobs where you are working as a registrar, you are not a consultant, so you are being trained, but it's at the same time very important and a responsible job as well. So they would like somebody who has already some experience in the liver.
Yeah.
So I was kind of struggling. I was getting shortlisted but was not getting the job, and was kind of getting desperate. So then what I did was I started to look for all the liver surgery and transplantation centers in the UK, got the emails of their clinical heads, and just started emailing them randomly that I am someone who have come from Pakistan, want to get myself trained in the UK, so kindly help me out.
Okay.
So some of them did not responded, some of them just responded with an email that we don't have a slot. But
Just a polite decline.
Yeah, a polite decline. And few of them actually called me and have a nice chat for half an hour, gave me a good guidance, but everyone said we don't have a job for now, but we'll be in
future
touch.
we will keep you in mind.
So once I was going through this process, I was doing my registrar job in general surgery outside London. So there was a job again in London. It's called the Royal London Hospital. I used to work in the same trust in another hospital which is called St. Bart's Hospital as a registrar in breast and endocrine surgery. And then I moved to a vascular surgery post outside London. But now I'm very clear that I have to go for a liver surgery and keep applying on these jobs. So a job comes up for only 2 months in this Royal London Hospital, who has a liver unit and a liver surgery unit. So I comes for an interview. I was shortlisted, and that was the day of July the 7th where the London bombing happened. So I was waiting in the waiting area, but nobody turned up. So after a couple of hours, and I was told there is some breakdown in the transport for London. So just waiting. After a couple of hours, the human resource department lady comes in and she said, there's a big incident in London, so unfortunately the interviews will be cancelled.
Okay.
So can you come next day? I said, sure, I will. So I comes out, and it was a total chaos outside, and the whole transport for London was frozen. And then I came to know there have been bombing on 3-4 different stations. So
They were historic day.
it reminds me, because that was the day when I got my entry into the liver surgery. So that's why I remember that very well.
Okay.
So next day I had an interview, and this job was only for 2 months actually. So when I was in the interview, the consultant asked me that this job is only for 2 months. So I said, for me it will be 1 month, because I have to resign from my job. I have to give 1 month notice period. I will only come if you kind of commit me for 1 year, because he said, but we have already offered this job to somebody else, and he's not joining up. So we need somebody for a couple of months. I said, I'm not coming here for months, 1 month. But he said, the guy will come after 2 months. What are you going to do then? I said, you have to guarantee me, and even if you don't pay me, but you will treat me and train me for the whole 1 year. Because by then I have realized if I want to take this as a career, I need to work in an environment where I can actually get some training, because my decline from the first 3-4 interviews was that I did not have an experience. So this was an opportunity for me. And next day they called me, yes, we are going to offer you a job. So I went there, and I think that was the day, and never looked back.
Wow. And then when did you decide to come back to Pakistan?
I mean, I did this 1-year fellowship in Royal London Hospital, but that was kind of just exposure to this field of surgery, And by the time I started developing a hang of it, I was told that we are not going to extend your job for another year. This fellowship is only for 1 year.
Okay.
So I have to start looking again. And this was a center where there was no liver transplantation. So now I thought I have to train myself in liver and pancreatic surgery plus liver transplantation. And then I, after this job, ended up in King's College Hospital in London, which
Okay.
is kind of one of the biggest and the
Leading
pioneer
names. Yeah, yeah.
unit of liver transplantation. But I think it was my destiny. It took me there. And then I spent probably 5 years there.
Wow.
And that was the place actually which I believe transformed me.
Groomed you.
Groomed me. Actually, I think it was mainly a mental transformation, because once you inherit the pride of working in the best unit of the world, and the people who are your mentors, who are kind of one who have pioneered liver transplantation and generated the knowledge of liver transplantation. So if you are, learning from them, that give you absolute inherent confidence. So with that confidence, you can go anywhere. So while I was working there, I developed this confidence that I'm working with the best people in the world. And while working there, and when I was leaving, I was told that you are one of our best fellows.
Wow.
So that was the kind of a confidence I had.
Great. Great.
And those were the time I thought I need to go back to Pakistan. I always, even when I went to UK, I was very clear that I have to come back. And then living there for 8 years, my kids were born there, they were growing up, they were going to school. So I was even more convinced now that
you want
I have to live in Pakistan for myself, for my children, for the rest of my
But that
family.
training and that experience was essential for you to become what you are today, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that was the whole idea of going there,
Yeah.
I never went there to live there forever. Although when I was leaving King's College Hospital, I was given the opportunity to be appointed there as one of the consultants. But I thought, if I am going to take this opportunity, then I'm going to live here forever. I lived there for 8 years in persuasion of my targets, that I wanted to achieve something, learn something. Once I have done that, now it's a kind of a service, So I thought, I'm not going to live here forever.
And if you have to do service, then why not our own
Why
people,
not?
our own homeland,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
Which groomed you, which gave you early education, and which is your motherland, basically.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing story, Dr. Saab. You have so many awards to yourself. I'd just like you to briefly give me a two-liner of each of these awards. So first of all, you got Sitara-e-Imtiaz, which the government of Pakistan bestowed upon you.
Yeah.
And that was for the liver transplant services in
Yeah.
Pakistan. Then you got the BMJ South Asia Award,
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that. You got the Zenith Global Healthcare's International Healthcare Professional and Special Recognition Award in 2018.
Yeah.
And then you have the recognition by the, you have a doctorate of science given
Yeah.
by Dow University of Health Sciences in Karachi,
Yeah.
now in Karachi, into 2022. So can you just give us a brief on all these 4-5 awards that you
Yeah.
got, major awards?
I think Sitara-e-Imtiaz is generally given to people who have a long career of giving their services beyond the line of the duty to Pakistan.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I think the duration of my services was not that long. It was from 2011 to 2016. But I think it was kind of breaking the shackles. Before that, people believe that liver transplantation cannot and will not happen.
It's not possible in
It's just
Pakistan.
not possible in Pakistan. And there was few attempts, like Sindh Institute of Urology and Transplantation made an effort in 2002, 1 and 2, with King's College Hospital team
Collaboration.
that collaboration to start a liver transplant, but it was a failure. Then there was an attempt in Lahore by an Indian team at a private hospital. But this was the first time a local guy trained, started doing a transplantation, and then succeeded. Before that, people have to go to either India or China.
For this surgery.
For this liver
So
transplant
this
surgery.
was the first ever and was a paradigm shift, basically.
It was, And
Game
I think
changer.
it was a game changer. At that time, we started liver transplant on a regular basis. And there was a time when I was working in Shifa International Hospital, we were doing like 2 transplants, or transplant every day, And I remember there was time of doing 20 to 25 transplant every month, So people from all over Pakistan who were going to India and China, they started coming up here. So that was not only the establishment of a liver transplant service in Pakistan. I think there was a huge number of people around this service who was trained, like more surgeons, liver physicians, anesthesia people, intensivists, technicians, nurses, pathologists, radiologists. So all those people who was trained by this mother program, and I was at the center of the helm, you know. And these people over the next coming years would spread to Dow University, to Gumbar, to Army Liver Unit,
different institutions.
to a point now we have 10 liver transplant centers in Pakistan.
No.
So I think I broke those shackles and made it possible.
The stereotype.
Yeah. I think that is what would have been the biggest credential to be awarded Stara Imtiaz. Next was BMJ. I mean, I was always interested to take this ethical and good results side of a Pakistan to the Western world, you know, because a lot of people are doing a good work,
Yeah,
but
it
until
doesn't get
unless
recognized, it doesn't get registered.
obviously, until unless you get it recognized to the Western world, there is no credibility. And the best way forward to get that recognition is to publish your results in the international journals. And the international journals would only publish all those if the data is absolutely credible, you know. So I started publishing our results as well in Liver Transplantation Journal, which is
Okay.
one of the best journals. And when I submitted our first paper, it was the outcome of the first 100 transplant. They said, we are not interested in 100 transplants, but what we are interested in is how you establish that. So I have to write all the story of all the barriers and difficulties, you know. And actually the title of that article is very interesting. It was Travails of Setting Up Liver Transplantation in Pakistan.
Wow.
You know. So, I mean, by the time I went for this BMJ, I already had my few papers published. So there was some credentials under my belt
Attached to
as
your
well.
name.
And BMJ is a British Journal of Medicine, you know. It is one of the most respected journal. And they kind of held a competition in different medical categories in South Asia. So we applied for it. It was a competition between different surgical teams of South Asia, including India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh.
Southeast
Pakistan.
Asia, basically.
It was South Asia. So eventually we got selected. So this award was as a best surgical team.
Wow.
So I think
What an honor for
and
Pakistan.
then this was actually published in British Medical Journal as well.
Okay.
So I think this was a very credible award. And then more recently, the Doctorate of Science thing, it was by Dow University of Health Sciences. So I mean, the way liver transplantation spread all over Pakistan was that at Shifa International Hospital, where I was working for like 8.5 to 9 years, we have different surgeons from different parts of Pakistan being trained. So we have surgeons from Dow University who was with us as a fellow for 3 years. So we trained them, and then they went back to Dow University, and now they need a bit of a mentorship to start a liver transplant program in Dow University.
Okay.
So they asked me, so I used to go once a month there for 3 days. They would have already scheduled transplants. So I will be just there to help and supervise them.
Okay.
Because Dow University has also been trying to establish liver transplant since I think 2013 or 2014.
Oh, for the last
But,
10 years almost.
Yeah, but they were not successful. So they asked me to help. So this help kind of extended over 4 years. First,
Okay.
we got their main surgeon trained for 3 years. Then they went back.
Now they have that.
Now they have the surgeons. I
Okay.
would just go and supervise them, you know. So I think with all those contributions in their recent convocation, they awarded this Doctorate of
Doctorate
Science.
degree.
So the other person who was awarded was Dr. Mohiuddin. He is the one who did world's first pig to human transplant. I think this was all over the world
news. Yeah,
last
yeah,
year
yeah.
in January.
Yeah,
So Dr. Mohiuddin, he was awarded Doctorate of Science by Dow University. He was a graduate of Dow University, but his main work was in basic research. So he was awarded Doctorate of Science in
Okay.
basic science,
Okay.
and
And you got it
myself
for your
was on
liver.
the surgical side of a thing.
Okay. Okay. And then you got this Zenith Global Healthcare International
Yeah.
Healthcare Professional and Special Recognition Award in 2018 also.
Yeah.
What was that?
I mean, this was again as a part of establishing yourself as an international forum.
Okay.
So this is a Zenith Globus is a charity based in London.
Okay.
So they give award based on people's contributions.
Okay.
You know, so again you have to apply for it. You go through it. They have different interviews, lot of your publications,
Okay.
and then they select. So I think I was kind of blessed in a way. I mean, just doing liver transplantation is not something that you will be awarded, but starting something in such a big country, the seventh world's biggest country, where there's a huge need of this service,
Demand for this thing,
and this service does not exist. You
where
know?
you've been trying to do this for so many years but couldn't
Yes.
succeed, and finally that
Yeah.
myth was broken. Dr. Saab, we have to take a short break, but once we come back, I'm going to ask about PKLI, Pakistan Kidney Liver Institute, which again is an amazing institute. And we're going to ask Dr. Saab that we've heard his professional side. How is it being a manager or an administrative head of one of the largest institutes which deals with liver diseases? So we'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are in conversation with Dr. Faisal Dar, the Chief Executive Officer of Pakistan Kidney Liver Institute, PKLI. Dr. Saab, we've heard your professional side. Now let's come to your administrative skills. You've been the CEO for some time for PKLI, which is one of the largest institutes dealing in liver diseases. How has it been managing that institute? And tell us a bit about PKLI. Is it a free institute? Like, do patients get free treatment? Does the government sponsor or subsidize that payment of that treatment? Can you tell us a bit about that?
I think Pakistan Kidney and Liver Institute was started somewhere in 2015.
Yeah.
And at that time, Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, he was the chief minister of the Punjab. He, as a chief minister, used to sign a lot of funding for liver transplant patients who used to go to India and China. So he always had his soft side that he wanted that this service should be in Pakistan as well. So along with me, Dr. Saeed Akhtar, he is a kidney transplant surgeon. We both used to work in Shifa International Hospital. So Dr. Saeed wanted to establish a Pakistan Kidney Institute, a kind of a charity-based institute where you can serve the poor people as well. And working in Shifa, he has a very limited scope to help the poor people. So he was actually trying to get some big chunk of a land around Islamabad to establish that PKI thing. And he has been doing this for the last few years, but I think there was no success. And then I think during this journey, he met Mr. Shehbaz Sharif that I want to do this.
The then Chief Minister.
Then Chief Minister. And during that meeting, I think Chief Minister somehow bought the idea and he said, I can help you out. I can give you the land and can build the hospital as well. But you have two conditions. One, you have to do it in Lahore. And secondly, you have to include liver into it as well. So it won't be just a kidney thing. We said, okay, I have a liver guy, I can speak to him, and then I can give you.
And you were that liver guy?
I was that liver guy because we were both working in Shifa International Hospital.
Okay.
So he comes back to me that this is an opportunity, what should we do? So I said to him, listen, if we want to do something and contribute back to the nation, then we need to take this opportunity because me and you as individual doctors in our lifetime will not be able to get 60 acres of land and billions of rupees to build such a big hospital.
State-of-the-art facility.
So, the scale of these things is only possible with the governments. You know, individuals can't do it.
They have that footprint.
So we said, what we need to do is, if the government fulfill its commitment, so we have to move to Lahore.
Is it a free hospital?
it is not free for everyone. It is free for poor people. The funding is from the government. So what we do is we have a financial screening department, just like Shaukat Khanim does.
Okay.
So somebody walks into the hospital.
You
If
have to
they
fill in a certain form, give details.
yes. So
Assessment is done.
Yes, the financial assessment is done, and we have also included the best programs, the PMT scores, into our assessment as well. So if somebody is very poor, for them treatment is absolutely free. If somebody can contribute a little bit, whatever they can, they are. So up till now, our private patients are only 25%.
Okay, 75%.
So 75% patients are being helped with the government funding, and the funding of the government is from Government of Punjab.
Okay.
So majority of them, like I would say, I think so far 42% of the patients are completely free.
100%.
100% free.
Okay.
Yeah, that's completely free.
Okay.
Whether it's be a consultation, a operation, or even a liver transplantation.
Surgery, whatever.
Another 30%, 33% are the one who
Partial.
get discount.
Partial.
And out of these, 90% actually get 90% discount. So they are kind of a free. So if you calculate the weighted average,
70.
so I think 65-70% of the patient are free.
Okay.
Our pot for the private patient is only 25%, you know. So it's being funded by the government, but from those 25% of the private patient, we get some funding and some donations and charity and zakat, all those. So at the end of the day, it is a government hospital. Government of Punjab is the custodian of this hospital, but it is not being run like a normal government hospital.
It's a costly, semi.
It's done. It has a complete financial and administrative autonomy. It's being run through a board of governors that does include government representatives in the form of 3 or 4 secretaries, and there are 7 private members who are part of the board of governors. So all the policy decisions are done by the board of governors, and me being the chief executive and the rest of the management is actually running the day-to-day functions of the hospital.
And is the standard being maintained, since it's a new hospital? But usually the thing is that the public sector hospitals usually do not maintain their standard, and usually they deteriorate over time. What about PKLI? Is it of the same level?
I think it's pretty decently maintained, but to witness that, you have to come there and take your
I will
camera
definitely
around.
come, and I will visit all the, absolutely, it will be a pleasure. So you're saying that this donation of organ is after death, usually in most of the countries. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. Sorry, excuse my ignorance. So can you just briefly explain how is it done? Like, so you can donate your liver post your death.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and how many hours does it have to be operated upon after the death?
I mean, first of all, you have to understand that a donor, someone who donates his organ or a tissue, is called donor.
Yeah.
So donor are generally 2 types. One is a living donor, when a living person can donate part of his organ or an organ like a kidney. You can donate whole kidney. So these are living donors, and that is a kind of a transplantation we are doing in Pakistan.
Yeah.
But in the Western world, majority of the transplant happens through deceased donation. So someone who in his life has donated his organs and they get a head injury and they are brain dead, that is the time when you can harvest the organs of these patients or donors, you know. Because they have decided to donate their organs if these times comes. So in majority of the Western world, organs come from these sort of a people who have accidental deaths, and primarily we are not talking about death at home. These are the people who have a head injury, they ended up in a hospital as a patient, they were treated, but their time comes when the medical team thinks that this patient is brain dead.
Okay, fair enough.
So brain death is an entity. When the brain is dead, it is death actually in medical terms.
In medical terms.
But since these patients are on ventilators, so their heart is beating, their liver, lungs are
It's
working.
functioning.
You know?
So,
So in those times, if they have already agreed to donate their organs after that,
they're a donor.
you need to have a system, you do their operation, and you can harvest heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, intestines, bones,
So
eyes.
you've done all the tests before, and you know that it matches with certain person
Yes.
who needs it, right?
Yes.
Because you can't keep it, in a refrigerator, an organ like that, and then wait if some exact specific requirement comes for that.
I mean, it all happens in a very coordinated way.
Okay.
So, for example, somebody is in a hospital and the medical team has declared him as brain dead.
Yeah.
Once that is declared, that is the time the medical team communicate to the family, and
Okay.
the family also agrees, then they start preparing for this. Then
Fair
they will
enough.
let the transplant team know, they will start selecting a patient on their waiting list, and this all efforts happen in a
Coordinated way
Yeah.
simultaneously. Finally concluding, we're coming to the last part of the interview. So what are the common kinds of types of liver diseases in Pakistan? And there's a concept of pancreatic cancer which is now developing in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that also?
I think first the liver thing, hepatitis C is the commonest liver disease in Pakistan, and there are, I would say, 5% of the Pakistani population is infected with hepatitis C.
And what's the major cause?
I think it's multifactorial, but by and large, hepatitis C spread through the blood transmission. Through the
Transfusion.
blood or contaminated instruments and things like that. So I think the needles, dirty needles, blood transfusions, road-sized dentists, barbers, and lady health workers doing deliveries in villages using the same dirty instruments, and substandard transfusions in small hospitals where these sterilization techniques are not practiced in a nice way. These has been a major contributory factor to this kind of epidemic of hepatitis C. So hepatitis C is the commonest. Then hepatitis B, although we have a vaccination for hepatitis B, and over time hepatitis B is actually getting less and less in Pakistan because of the vaccination, especially in younger population, they get vaccinated now. And then a new epidemic is actually, which is on the horizon now, is a fatty thing, fatty liver.
Fatty liver.
Fatty
Yeah,
liver.
yeah.
Because especially in big cities, our way of living is changing, our dietary habits are changing, and with all the junk food we eat and the more refined food we eat, I think we are getting a lot of fatty livers, and fatty liver is probably just like getting a hepatitis C because it has the same course. It leads to liver damage in 10 years, and you end up having a liver cancer or a liver failure that requires transplantation. So these are the common liver diseases in Pakistan: viral hepatitis and fatty liver. Then there is a big list, but I think these are the commonest
The most
ones.
common one.
The pancreatic cancer, on the other hand, is not that common, but probably we don't have the real data, the epidemiological data from Pakistan where we can say that this is the percentage of pancreatic cancer. But it's one of the deadliest cancer one can have. Generally, it happens in the Western world in the 6th or the 7th decade of life. But in Pakistan, we do see patients in their 3rd and the 4th decade of life having a very advanced pancreatic cancer. If diagnosed at an early stage, removing it by surgery offers cure. But I think there is a lot for the people to be aware of. If they have symptoms, they need to consult their doctors. You cannot diagnose pancreatic cancer just by your hunch or having a feel of the wrist. You need to do, some investigations. Generally, loss of appetite,
The common
weight
symptoms.
loss, or a jaundice. And just what we call is a pila yarkan. If they have these symptoms, these patients should be investigated, and only by investigation, doing ultrasound and CT scans, you can diagnose this cancer. I mean, PKLI, we have the main focus on 2 organs. That is, one is liver, and the second is kidney. With liver, the whole system, which is called liver, gallbladder, and the pancreas. This is one system, one part of the digestive system. So we offer care to liver patients and pancreatic patients as well. So all the surgical problem which required surgical interventions, or the medical side of a thing which required medical treatment, or other minimal interventions with interventional radiology, both on the kidney side and on the liver and the pancreatic side, in adults and in children as well. So we are all doing liver transplants and kidney transplant in children as well. And the smallest one we have done there is a 4-month-old child. So I think this is an important message as well, because there are a lot of children in Pakistan, because of the family marriages, who develop these metabolic liver diseases, which requires eventually transplantation as a definitive treatment. So for those families, we are offering transplants to small children as well, and for poor people it's free. So I think they need to know that liver transplant in children and kidney transplant in children, it's also happening in PKLI.
Wow, that's awesome. Dr. Such enlightening views, and thank you very much for your time. And before I end this program, I would like to say that probably we have Pakistanis are one of the finest breed of doctors that we have all over the world. We have different organizations, Apna in North America, and a huge number of doctors, and they're doing so well, mashallah. And I wish there was some kind of a program whereby all these doctors, because I know, because I speak to them regularly, that they do want to come back and serve the motherland. If there was some kind of a program by the government, some kind of an incentive where probably they could come for 3-4 days or a week for that matter on rotation basis and treat patients here, that would really uplift the healthcare system here in Pakistan. But you know, you always need a drop, a first drop in the river, and you Dr. are one of those rare breed. And I'm really proud that you decided to come back and serve your motherland, your own people. Thank you very much. Wishing you all the best for PKLI, and you have a long way to go, a long journey, and I wish you all the success. Thank you very much for being a part of Sky is the Limit. It was a very inspirational story. With this, we come to the end of this episode. Inshallah Ta'ala, I will see you in another episode of Sky is the Limit. Till then, Allah Hafiz.